to Miss Cat's Storyland. Today we continue our crazy journey through our story, Miss Child Has Gone Wild. But before we begin, I'd like to ask you again, what if? In this chapter I'm about to read, what if one of the students fell into one of the animals' enclosures? What would the teachers do? What would the animal do? What would the student do? What would you do? What if that happened? Well, let's find out. Mr. Gnome, will you let us into Storyland? Thank you. Chapter 10, Brian the Lion. We all ran over to Lion Lane like we were in the Olympics. Alexia rode her skateboard, so she got there first. There she is, Alexia shouted. Lion Lane is another one of those areas in the zoo that has a concrete wall that curves down to where the animals live. I leaned over the edge and looked down. There was Emily, lying on the ground at the bottom. Help, Emily whimpered. A big lion was pacing back and forth about 10 feet away from Emily. It looked like the lion didn't even notice she was in there. Stay calm, Emily, said Mr. Granite. As if anybody could stay calm when they're trapped with a lion. I mean, Emily is a big crybaby, of course. But if I was stuck down at the bottom of Lion Lane, I would probably be freaking out and crying too. What's the lion's name? Asked Miss Hannah. His name is Brian, said Miss Child. Brian, the lion? We all said. Brian, shouted Michael. Don't eat Emily. Lions don't understand English, dumbhead, I told Michael. Can you climb out, Emily? Asked Mr. Granite. No, I hurt my leg. We'll get you out of there, Emily, shouted Miss Child. How did you get down there in the first place? Asked Miss Hannah. I was taking a picture with my camera, Emily said. I took a step backward and Emily couldn't finish the sentence because she started crying. A bunch of kids suddenly remembered they brought cameras with them. They all started taking pictures of Emily and Brian the lion. It was a real Kodak moment. Suddenly, Brian the lion walked over to Emily and started sniffing her. Brian the lion is going to eat Emily, whispered Neil the nude kid. Do lions eat people? Whispered Ryan. Only under certain conditions, said Miss Child. Like what conditions? Whispered Andrea. Like when they're hungry, said Miss Child. We've got to do something, said Andrea. Pretend to be dead, Emily, shouted Miss Child. We'll figure out a way to rescue you. Emily pretended to be dead. Brian the lion was still sniffing her. Then Emily sneezed, Choo! And Brian the lion jumped back. I think I'm allergic to lions, Emily said. That's the least of your problems, I told her. Maybe Brian the lion is allergic to Emily too, said Neil the nude kid. Brian the lion went back to Emily and sniffed her some more. Emily sneezed again. Achoo! Help! She cried. Do something! He's going to eat me! I'll take care of this, said Miss Child. She ran over to a little shed next to Lion Lane and came out with a long whip in one hand and a chair in her other hand. Then she went to the edge of Lion Lane and slid down the curved wall to the bottom. Brian the lion turned away from Emily and looked at Miss Child. Be a good boy, Miss Child said as she walked toward him slowly, holding the chair in front of her. Leave Emily alone, Brian. Miss Child has gone wild, said Ryan. Isn't that dangerous, being so close to a lion? Asked Mr. Granite. Oh, don't be silly, Miss Child said. The animals are my friends. We're all just living creatures trying to make our way in the world. Well, we're all part of the family of man, blah, 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 blah. Aren't you afraid that Brian the lion is going to eat you? Asked Miss Hannah. Oh, Brian wouldn't do that, Miss Child said. I respect him, and he respects me. Brian the lion took a few steps toward Miss Child and growled at her. She cracked the whip and walked backward. Down, boy, Miss Child said calmly. It was cool. Miss Child was like a lion tamer in the circus. Emily was still lying on the ground, freaking out. Why don't you use your supervision to burn a hole in Brian the lion? I yelled. Brian the lion took a few more steps toward Miss Child. Then he growled and he swiped at her with his paw. Ooh! We all went. Don't worry, Miss Child said. That's how Brian shows his respect for me. If he respects you so much, I said, why do you need the whip and chair? That's when the weirdest thing in the history of the world happened. Brian the lion got up on his hind legs, growled really loudly, and started chasing Miss Child. Miss Child dropped the whip and chair and took off like she was in the Olympics. It was amazing. Help! Help! Shouted Miss Child. Run, we all screamed. Run for your life. Brian the lion was chasing Miss Child all over Lion Lane, and we got to see it live and in person. You should have been there. Miss Child sure is a fast runner. If you ask me, they should use lions in the Olympics because people run a lot faster when a lion is chasing them, especially a hungry one. While Brian the lion was chasing Miss Child around, Emily struggled to her feet and started limping toward the wall. She tried to climb up. You can do it, Emily, shouted Andrea. I can't, Emily shouted back. It's too steep. That's when the most amazing thing in the history of the world happened. But I'm not going to tell you what it is. Okay, I'll tell you. But you have to read the next chapter. So na 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 boo boo on you. And that is the end of that chapter. Please join me again in Miss Cat's Storyland. Goodbye.